Hello, good day. For today's video, we will be discussing about the topic the coral reef. So, I am communication a third year college student, Bachelor of Science in Environmental Science. So, first, we will discuss about the coral reef. So, what is coral reef? A coral reef are one of the most diverse ecosystem on Earth. So, the colorful creatures are found across some of the Earth's water bodies. So, you've probably heard about the Great Barrier Reef of the Australia. So, it is the Great Barrier of Australia. And the stunning area of corals on display. So, or the frame-ring corals of the Red Sea that give its iconic name. So, like many of the wonders of the marine biosphere, so a coral reef plays an essential role in the ecosystem. While you may not have seen coral, it impacts your life unimaginably. So, what is a coral reef? So, a coral reef, it is a ridge or hammock formed in a shallow ocean areas by algae and the calcareous skeletons of certain coleonterates, of which coral polyps are the most important. So, it may grow in a permanent coral island, often called the rainforest of the sea. Coral reefs are a home to a spectacular variety of organisms. So, the characteristic of coral reefs. So, coral reef are animals, not plants. So, coral reef are animals, not plants. Many people know that the corals are rooted in the seabed, and which is why there is a common misconception that it is a plant. So, in reality, corals are animals classified in cnidarians related to jellyfish and animals. There are different types of coral reefs. Number one is the fringing reef or the shore reef. So these reefs grow close to the shore, thrive in shallow water, and are commonly found near in the coastline. So these reefs they are not very wide but can grow kilometers along the shore. So fringing corals begin to grow from the coast, spread outwards to the sea as time passes. So these corals grow at a uniform deep angle the end of the continental plate. They also give rise to fringing lagons as the corals close to the shore erodes over time to form a bowl-like depression. A famous fringing reef is in Red Sea corals. Number 2 is the barrier reef. So these corals reef grow close to the end of continental plate. They are sparsely found close to the shore but are densely populated at the location where the seabed sharply drops. Number 3 is the platform reef. So these reef are wider at the top and near the seabed and are commonly found in the shallow regions. These reefs grow on the continental shelf and can be located away from the coastline. So platform reef these reefs are commonly found within atolls and grow in different shapes based on wind and water flow. So the fourth type is called atoll. An atoll is a circular coral reef that has a lagoon in the middle. Atolls take millions of years to form. An atoll, it is an atoll. Over time, these islands gradually erode below the surface while corals continue to grow. So this creates a ring of corals and lagoon. So the scientists theorize that atolls are fringing reefs that form around a small and low elevation of island. So from an active volcano to fringing reef and to barrier reef and number 4 is an atoll. So may process siya mula sa sa aktibong vulkan. So ito na yung nagiging form ng volcano dito sa left side. I mean, the atoll. The next characteristic of coral reef, they are one of the slowest growing creatures in the earth. Corals have calcium carbonate skeletons and cover large areas, so they are one of the slowest growing creatures on Earth with an estimated 1 centimeter growth in height per annum. A coral reef spreading just a few square kilometers would have taken around 1 million years to grow. So the growth rate of the coral depends on several factors such as nutrition and water quality. While the average growth is 2 centimeters at some location, healthy corals that habitats in an area with sufficient sunlight and the pollution would quickly grow over 10 centimeters a year. So the process how slow this translates to the Great Barrier Reef covers an area of roughly 350,000 square kilometers. So next, coral reef grow up to a certain water depth. So polyps are organisms that are notoriously picky about the environment they grow in. So they require optimal conditions to thrive, meaning they can only grow in a selected ocean regions. So one main factor that plays a role in the location of coral reefs is the water depth. So deep and clear water with sufficient oxygen supports corals. So they also require abundant sunlight to provide for the symbiotic zooxanthellae that grow in their system. So below specific depths, these symbiodenum cannot procure sufficient energy for the polyp through the photosynthesis, meaning that the polyp dies. Corals grow in a region with low water depth, and the seabed is only a few tenths of meters below the surface. Due to global temperature fluctuation, the seawater level often changes over time. So to prevent newer corals from being exposed to outside the water, corals have adapted to ensure they grow outwards more than their vertical growth. So this also allows each layer of polyps to obtain sufficient nutrients and sunlight. Next, they are home to millions of species of marine flora and fauna corals. So, flora and fauna corals are known as the rainforests of the sea because of the enormous underwater biodiversity they support. Their marine habitats shelters various marine species, from fish and seabirds of crustaceans, turtles, sharks, and dolphins. So the refuge that dot a coral reef have many organisms. Refuges are crevices and spaces within which fish can hide to protect themselves from predators. So the refuge of coral reefs double up as a hiding spaces of for different organisms at different times of the day. So moreover, the marine life in all around the reef provides a healthy exchange of nutrients that ensure a flow of vital minerals and vitamins. So many organisms stay protected within the coral reef and survive because the reef filters water. So they allow the passage of nutrients while protecting marine life from harmful chemicals, particulate pollutants, and etc. Another, coral reefs are colorful because of the algae that grows on them. Corals are colorful and vibrant sea creatures, and marine tourism is majorly attributed to this facet. But how are they bright, and why does the color change occasionally? Corals feed in two main ways: by capturing zooplankton and the floats near their polyps' tentacles, or by their symbiotic relationship with zooxanthellae. The latter is microscopic algae that grow within corals and share symbiotic relationship with the polyp. Zooxanthellae are photosynthetic organisms that require sunlight to live. So they produce nutrients to share with the polyp, while the polyp offers protection in exchange. The zooxanthellae are of different one of the zooxanthellae are of different colors based on their species and chlorophyll presence. The main colors adapted by the algae are brown and green, and but vibrant colors occurs because of the environmental changes. So as the temperature and light condition change, so sunlight change their color also across a wide spectrum to act as a form of protection against the ultraviolet rays. Reef that grow close to the surface are most colorful since the algae can use more sunlight efficiently. Next, coral reef are coral reefs are thrive where strong currents exist. So corals grow mainly in tropical regions and especially in areas that experience strong currents. These fossil scientists, since most organisms strive to avoid the strong currents that pose various problems. Yet, corals often grow in this location. Based on several studies conducted in 90s, plausible and widely accepted theory was put forward. Currents are directly related to the surface temperature. A strong current can ensure cool water circulation faster and more efficiently than a weaker current. Corals are susceptible to temperature changes. They die quickly and the mercury rises above a certain amount depending on the reef's location. So since currents keep the water cool, especially the surface, corals grow in such location as they can be assured of a cooler and more stable temperature range. Another point that puzzled scientists was how corals could obtain nutrition. Strong currents bring different creatures to the reef but remove them quickly. Most creatures do not live in regions with strong currents because the water is nearly devoid of nutrients. Yet, corals thrive in such areas because they feed mainly on plankton and zooplankton trapped within the reef. Due to the different creatures in the ecosystem, the reef often has an unlimited supply of plankton that other organisms can use. This probably gives rise to the famous Darwin's paradox. The location of coral reef gives rise to Darwin's paradox. So most organisms on Earth live close to the source of nutrition. From humans living around water body to whales that stay close to zooplankton sites, creatures depend on the food for sustenance and energy. However, corals are peculiar in their location. So Darwin in 1842 noted how corals seem to flourish in areas with violent currents and strong water movement. So this makes the water devoid of natural minerals, but corals seem to thrive in this condition. Moreover, corals grow in the tropics, which have a slower rate of nutrients replenishment. This is a part. This is partly because of the slow breakdown of organism and the creation of thermoclines that prevent the vertical passage of nutrients. Yet corals reefs are filled with different species that require nutrients. The food chain is complex within reef, and the starting point is the marine plants and dissolved nutrients. So, how would a coral reef without nutrients support an extensive ecosystem of organisms that need nutrients? The now accepted explanation of Darwin's paradox is that coral reefs excel in recycling nutrients in close-by pairs. So, unlike other locations, corals of the tropics that live in remote regions can ensure a near steady supply of nutrients within the reef. So phytoplanktons and zooplanktons form the base of the food chain. Polyps, fish, and crustaceans consume them. Sponges that live in the reef can filter the water and excrete nutrients that corals can use. Various other organisms in the reef also contribute to the efficient cycling of nutrients. Thus, while coral reefs may live in areas with poor nutrient content, they can produce their minerals and effectively recycle them within the ecosystem. And next, coral reefs help to filter and improve the quality of seawater. So, polyps are notoriously sensitive to minute changes in the environment. Temperature, salinity or the pH, and particulate matter concentration changes can cause the polyp to die. For this reason, corals have an inbuilt system to act as filtration system. They use They line the coral shell to remove the particulate matter. They also adapt the minor changes in the temperature and salinity due to their inherent ability to improve water quality for their survival. They also positively impact the local ecology. Organisms within a coral reef benefit from this and can obtain clean and filtered water. As the number of the corals increases its reef, they can process larger quantities of water and improve filtration. Also, once a polyp dies, the coral skeleton continues to provide partial filtration. The downside of filtration is that organisms within the reef become susceptible to significant environmental changes. They have evolved to survive in the comfort of clean and filtered water but might not be able to adapt in this case of a temperature change. So the same goes for the polyp, which became dependent on extensive filtration for its survival. So next, corals stabilize the seabed. Within massive levels of sand mining, the seabed has gradually become unstable over the past few decades. So to aggravate the situation, human activities have also begun to cause erosion. Corals are an excellent natural control for erosion since they grow across the seabed. They help stabilize and prevent large swaths of land from shifting. The polyps that form the core of the coral invader peel this in the substratum. Over millions of years, the calcium secretion has embedded the complete coral reef. Even when corals die, they continue to provide essential protection to the seabed against erosion. However, the dead polyp does not generate its shell anymore, meaning the reef will dissolve over time. Because of stabilizing the ocean bed, coral reef prevent beach erosion and form a bedrock for islands. Some corals can absorb over 95% of incident wave energy. They act as a buffer or natural barrier for the beach and protect shorelines from eroding wave actions. Thus, corals prevent loss of life and property by stabilizing the seabed. Next, the Great Barrier Coral Reef can be seen from outer space. So, the Great Barrier Reef of Australia is the largest coral reef system in the world. So it has been designated of the World Heritage Site and is one of the world's 7 natural wonders. Located at Queensland, it spans nearly 350,000 square kilometers and has almost 3,000 individual reef system. With over 900 islands comprising the Great Barrier Reef, it can be seen from outer space and is the largest single structure made by living organism. So the reef is a home to billions of corals and millions of species of marine life, from whales and tortoises, underwater snakes, and common fishes. It is one of the largest ecosystems on the earth. So today, the coral reef is only half what it used to be in 1980s. So this has been attributed to widespread bleaching brought about by pollution. Nevertheless, there are extensive efforts by the government of Australia and international non-governmental organizations to save the reef. The rich sea coral reef is a highly resistant to temperature changes and bleaching bacteria. So the Red Sea, located in the south of the Suez Canal and between countries such as Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Eritrea, is famous for its coral reefs with a distinctive reddish. They give the sea its peculiar name. The corals also house the bacteria Trichodesmium that bloom near the surface and are responsible for the red color visible. So the corals of the Red Sea extend over 2 kilometers in length and are brightly colored. These reefs are uniquely in this structure formation and are different from classical reef formation. So the main reason for this is the widespread tectonic activity that occurs here. So these reef ages are estimated to be between 5,000 to 7,000 years. To protect these species of corals, The Ras Mohammed National Park was set up by the government of Egypt. A unique feature of the coral reef is their resistance to high temperature and infection. While temperature resistance can be attributed to natural selection over millions of years, its ability to resist deadly disease in astonishing. A bacterium known as Thalassom- Thalassomonas loyola is known for causing a deadly infection, particularly to corals of the species Favia fabus, known as white blood. And it ditches the corals, effectively killing them. Uh, while the rates of the coral bleaching are very high and most other reef worldwide, the Red Sea corals are a merged rate only 9% infection. The reason behind this is the presence of an inherent natural virus known simply as Bay3, which can kill the bacterium currently. Research is being conducted into the feasibility using to stop bleaching at other coral reef. Next is they are integral to the local tourism industry, and coral reef play a role in hurricane and storm mitigation. Also, coral can be used for medicinal properties. So, corals can be used for medicinal properties. Corals have been used for medicinal purposes since ancient times. While the myths surrounding the efficacy of corals as a means of curing diseases are often exaggerated or unfounded, scientists have discovered that they possess specific medicinal properties. So these are known as their ecosystem services that invaluable. Since corals worldwide face mass extinction due to climate change, changing ocean temperature, and pollution, there are strict regulation on the use of corals in medicine. Nevertheless, certain countries allow the use of corals in local or traditional medication. So, what is coral reef made of? So, a coral reef is made of thin layers of calcium carbonate, and it is made of thin layers of calcium carbonate corals pulled from a living mud, where a calcium carbonate skeleton stony corals are the corals primarily responsible for the laying and foundation of the building up and reef structures. The corals consist of a central polyp surrounded by a hard exoskeleton. The polyp is a living creature that only measure a few millimeters in a diameter. It has a cylindrical base shape creature that has a tiny tentacles at one end. These appendages pass food into the mouth of the polyp. Polyps are generally attached to the substrate they grow on, using a pedal disc that bores into the stratum. This secret calcium carbonate that forms an external shell. Over millions of years, this exoskeleton grows to form a coral. So polyps reproduce to form planulae that increase the coral reef coverage area. So this is corals. So local threats to the coral reef. So in physical, damages or destruction from coastal development, reaching, quarrying, and destructive fishing practices and gear, both anchors and groundings, and recreational measures touching out or removing corals. So In pollution that originates on land but finds its way in coastal waters, there are many types and sources of pollution from land-based inactivities. The sedimentation. Sedimentation from coastal development, urban stormwater runoff, forestry, and agriculture. Sedimentation has been identified as a primary stressor for the existence of the recovery of coral species and their habitats. So, sediment deposited onto reef can smother corals and interfere with their ability to feed, grow, and reproduce. Next, nutrition. Nutrients. Nutrients are nitrogen and phosphorus from agricultural and residential fertilizer use, sewage discharge, and including wastewater treatment plants and septic system. An animal waste nutrients are generally recognized as beneficial for marine ecosystem. However, coral reefs are adapted to low nutrients level, so an excess of nutrients can lead to the growth of algae that block sunlight and consume oxygen corals need for respiration. This often results in an imbalance affecting the entire ecosystem. Excess nutrients can also support growth of microorganisms like bacteria and fungi that can be pathogenic to corals. So pathogens. Next is pathogens. Pathogens from inadequately treated sewage, storm water, and runoff from livestock pens. Although rare, but bacteria and parasites from fecal contamination can cause disease in corals, especially if they are stressed by other environmental conditions. So corals disease occur in a healthy ecosystem, but the impact of pathogen-containing pollution can exacerbate the frequency and intensity of disease outbreaks. The toxic substances, including metals, organic chemicals, and pesticides found in industrial discharge, screens, urban and agriculture runoff, mining activities, and runoff from landfills. Pesticides can affect corals' reproduction, growth, and other sociological processes. So herbicides, in particular, can affect the symbiotic algae plants. These can damage their partnership with corals and result in bleaching. Metals such as mercury and lead, and organic chemicals such as polychlorobiphenyls, oxybenzone, and dioxin are suspected of affecting coral reproduction, growth rate, feeding, and defensive responses. Next is trash and microplastics. Overfishing. So overfishing can alter food web structure and cause cascading effects such as reducing the numbers of grazing fish that keeps corals clean of algal overgrowth. So blast fishing or using explosives to kill fish like dynamita can cause physical damage to coral as well. So coral harvesting. For the aquarium trade, jewelry and curios can lead to overfishing or overharvesting of specific species and destruction of reef habitats and reduce biodiversity. The aggregate effects of these stressors can decrease resilience of the reef overall and increase susceptibility of disease and invasive species. Invasive species can create an imbalance in the biological balances of the reef ecosystem. So global trends of coral reef increase oceans. Global threats to coral reef. Coral bleaching, ocean acidification. This is the global threats of coral reefs. When visiting coral reef, so what can you do to help protect coral reefs? So no matter where you live, near the coast or hundreds of miles away, there are several things that you can do to keep coral reefs healthy. So many dangers to coral reef occur directly in the water, but many also from activities that occur on land, even those far from the coast below our lifestyle changes that anyone can adapt that can make a difference for the health of our coral reef. So when visiting coral reef, we must practice safe and responsible driving and snorkeling. It avoid touching reef or anchoring your boat in the reef. Contact with the reef will damage and delicate coral animals. And anchoring on the reef can kill corals, so look for sandy bottom or using moorings if available. Take a reef-friendly approach to sun protection. Some ingredients in sunscreen can be harmful to or even kill corals. Inform yourself of safer choices for coral. Better yet, cut down on the sunscreen used by wearing a long sleeve shirt or rash guard to prevent sunburn. Recycle and dispose of trash properly. Marine debris can be harmful. Marine debris can be harmful to coral reef. Recycle your trash at home and on go, especially plastics. And remember the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. When disposing of trash, do it properly in bins to avoid trash being blown or washed away into waterways and oceans. On beaches, make sure you leave no trash behind and never leave any cigarettes butts in the sand. You can help keep your you can help keep your rivers and streams clean by volunteering to pick up trash in your community. Check with your local environment organization for annual trash cleanups, and make sure to check the annual international coastal cleanup. So, and also minimize use of fertilizer. If a diver swimming over a coral reef outcrop showing stony corals and soft corals, sea fawns, the overuse of fertilizers loans harm water quality because nutrients are nitrogen and phosphorus from the fertilizer are washed into waterways and eventually end up in the ocean. These nutrients pollute the water and can harm coral reef. Use environmentally friendly modes for transportation. Instead of driving a car, try to walk, bike, or using public transport like buses and trains more often. So if you are planning to buy a car, choose a fuel-efficient vehicle like a hybrid or electric car. Using these cleaner transportation methods can help reduce an amount of greenhouse gases that are emitted into the atmosphere. So these emissions contribute to ocean's acidification and increase ocean temperature. More acidic ocean waters impede coral growth, and warmer waters cause coral bleaching. So reduce stormwater runoff. Also save energy at home at work. So this is the simplest. You can save energy at home by turning off lights and electronic devices when not using them, and adapting to buy energy efficient appliances such as Energy Star certified appliances. So at work, to try to turn the lights and your computer off when you leave. And be conscious when buying aquarium fish. So avoid purchasing living coral, and if you buy a marine aquarium fish, make sure that it has been collected in a sustainable manner. And next, spread the word. Learn more about coral reef and educate your community. You can share this information with your family and your friends, your local schools and businesses, and you can always contact your local representative to see what your state is doing to protect your quality and coral reef. So that's all. Thank you.